Hello everyone, how are you? I believe all of you are healthy and happy. Students, somebody has rightly said that you are making a difference in a child's life every day. And it is so right about a teacher. Doesn't matter if you're standing in the classroom teaching a lesson, doesn't matter if you are having a conversation with a student. You have to be at your very best. And it's not only about being very best, you have to set an example, not only in front of the students, but also for the entire society. The children, the families, the society looks up to a teacher to be a better person. How to be a better person, we can learn from a teacher. So it means that as a teacher, you have to look out for your own behavior. Today we are going to get started with the explanation of chapter number 6 from Hornbill, class 11th. It is entitled as the Browning version. It is a play written by Terence Rattigan. As far as this play is concerned, it was first performed on 8th September 1948 at the Phoenix Theatre, London. It was originally one of the two short plays jointly titled Playbill. The Browning version is set in a boys' public school, and the classics teacher in the play, Crocker Harris, is believed to have been based on Rattigan's classics tutor at Harrow School, J.W. Coke Norris. So what we are going to deal with in this chapter is a conversation, a dialogue between a teacher and a student, and through that we will learn about the behavior of the teachers, the behavior of the students, and how they look at the behavior of each other. So this is what it is going to be about. Let's learn a little about the author. Terence Rattigan is one of Britain's greatest playwrights. He was born on 10th June 1911 and was educated at Harrow and Trinity College, Oxford. Terence Rattigan still holds the record of being the only playwright to have notched more than 1,000 performances for two separate plays, namely French Without Tears and While the Sun Shines. In 1958, he became a knight. So, Sir Terence Rattigan died in 1977. He left his estate to charity, with all royalties from his plays being donated to Denville Hall, a home for retired actors founded in 1926. These are some of the famous books written by him, the Browning version, as you can see right on the top. In Praise of Love, After the Dance, The Deep Blue Sea, The Winslow Boy, French Without Tears, and many others. So we are going to go through a masterpiece written by a brilliant playwright of his times and of all times belonging to England. And as a play demands some really finely edged characters through which we come to know the theme of the play, we come to know the characterization of the play, the plot of the play, and the hidden symbols of the play. So here we have the characters. First of all, Mr. Crocker Harris, an extremely strict and disciplined teacher. We have Taplow, a student. Then we have Frank, who happens to be a science teacher, and for a brief moment, we have Millie Crocker Harris also being present on the stage. So these are going to be the main characters, and let's get started with the explanation now. This is an excerpt from the Browning version. The scene is set in a school. Frank is young and Crocker Harris middle-aged. Both are masters. Taplow is a boy of 16 who has come in to do extra work for Crocker Harris. But the latter has not yet arrived, and Frank finds Taplow waiting. So as I said, it is an excerpt. Excerpt means it is a short part taken from a book or a film or a speech. So as an example, let's say that an excerpt from her new thriller will appear in this weekend's magazine. Coming back to the text. As you can see, there is a dialogue. The conversation is going to be between Frank, the science teacher, and Taplow, the young boy. And Taplow happens to be the student of Mr. Crocker Harris and not Frank. Let's get started. Frank. Do I know you? Taplo. No, sir. What's your name? Taplo. Taplo. No, I don't. You're not a scientist, I gather. No, no, sir. I'm still in the lower fifth. I can't specialize until next term. That's to say, if I've got my remove all right. Remove here means result. Don't you know if you have got your remove? No, sir. Mr. Crocker Harris doesn't tell us the results like the other masters. So, remove here means result. And they are talking about the result that is to be announced at the end of the session. And Frank is surprised that the boy doesn't know his result. It's still not the result day, but everybody else tells the result before the result day. Unlike Mr. Crocker Harris, and that is why Frank is pretty surprised. Why not? Well, you know what he's like, sir. I believe that there is a rule that form results should only be announced by the headmaster on the last day of term. Now, form here means class, a group of students. In the UK, a class of school children or a group of classes of children of a similar age. So, form here means a class. Yes, but who else pays attention to it except Mr. Crocker Harris? I don't, I admit. But that's no criteria. So, you've got to wait until tomorrow to know your fate, have you? Yes, sir. So, what do you learn about Mr. Crocker Harris from this particular point? We come to know that Mr. Crocker Harris follows the rules devotedly, unlike all the other masters who wouldn't follow them. It is the rule of the school that the result will be announced by the headmaster on the last day of the session. But the teachers would tell the result to the students beforehand, but not Mr. Crocker Harris. So the boy still doesn't know what his result is like. And then Frank asks him that if you get a good result, then what are you going to choose? So it's like when you in our India, like what happens if you get good result in class 10th, then you decide that what are you going to choose in 11th, whether it is going to be science or commerce or humanities. The same kind of question is being asked by Frank. And Taplow then answers. Frank asks, supposing the answer is favorable, what then? Oh, science, sir, of course. Frank says very sadly, yes, we get all the slackers. So the boy is indeed very much interested in taking science, but the teacher here, according to him, all his students are slackers. Slackers means someone who does not work hard enough or put enough effort into something. The management where I work thinks that taking time to eat lunch is only for slackers, lazy people. So Frank doesn't have a good impression of his students. He doesn't like them because they are also lazy. But Taplow says protestingly, I'm extremely interested in science, sir. Are you? I'm not. Not at least in the science I have to teach. Well, anyway, sir, it's a good deal more exciting than this muck, indicating his book. Now, before we move forward with this muck, let's learn about Frank. He doesn't like his students too much. According to him, they are all slackers. And he is not interested in teaching the syllabus that he has to teach. So you can imagine a teacher who is not interested in the students and who is not interested in the syllabus also. So I think you can form a kind of impression of Frank. Well, coming to the muck, what is this book? And Frank asks, what is this muck? Aeschylus, sir, the Agamemnon. And your considered view is that Agamemnon is muck. So, muck is something you consider very unpleasant or very low quality. I'm not eating that mug because it's very unpleasant. And in the same manner, for the boy, the book was a muck. Aeschylus was a Greek dramatist and he has written many tragedies. One of his famous tragedies was this, Agamemnon, and it was one of the first out of the three linked tragedies. And like we are taught Julius Caesar, we are taught Macbeth, the tragedies written by William Shakespeare, in the same manner, these children were taught Greek tragedies. So it was the foreign language for them. And he disliked literature, that's pretty sure. Obviously, he's more interested in science and all. And your considered view is that the Agamemnon is muck? Well, no, sir, I don't think the play is muck, exactly. I suppose, in a way, it's rather a good plot, really. A wife murdering her husband and all that. I only meant the way it's taught to us. Just a lot of Greek words strung together and 50 lines if you get them wrong. So, while teaching the foreign language, the teacher has to be extremely cautious because the children do not know much about it. And the way this particular book was taught to them, that was the problem. The students were asked to write. If they would make a mistake, then what would happen? They had to write it 50 times. And slowly, gradually, what happens is that after 3 months, after 6 months, the language, the subject, the book becomes synonymous with punishment. And then you do not have that much interest in learning anything about that, learning about Aeschylus, his tragedies, the language itself. That is why the boy doesn't like the book, and that is why he called it a muck. So, if the teachers somehow create a better way for the students to learn a foreign language rather than punishing them for each and every mistake, it would be a better option for a better teaching learning process, I believe. So, the boy doesn't like it. Frank, you sound a little bitter, Taplow. I am rather, sir. Captain, huh? Captain here means to make someone stay in a place, especially in school, as a punishment. They were kept in after school. Captain is detained. So all his friends were having some fun because it was the last day of the session. On the next day, the result would be announced. So everybody was having fun and he wasn't. He was there in the school to have some extra work done for Mr. Crocker Harris. Let's learn why it happened. No, sir, extra work. Extra work? On the last day of the school? Yes, sir, and I might be playing golf. You would think he had have enough to do anyway himself, considering he's leaving tomorrow for good. But oh no, I missed a day last week when I was ill. So here I am, and look at the weather, sir. Bad luck. Still, there's one comfort. You're pretty well certain to get your remove tomorrow for being a good boy and in taking extra work. So, Taplow is undoubtedly very frustrated because it was the last day. All his friends were playing golf, having fun. It was such a beautiful day. The weather was all fine. But he had to come to the school to do the extra work. Why? Because he missed the school on a previous day because he was ill. And that is why, to compensate that, he had to come to the school. And this shows that Mr. Crocker Harris was a strict disciplinarian. He did not leave anybody. If you have committed a mistake, if you missed the class, you have to compensate it. Such a strict disciplinarian he was. That made this boy completely frustrated to come to the school when everybody else was having fun. But then Frank says that okay, you have come to the school and it's pretty bad for you, but you will get a good result because after all, you are doing extra work for your teacher. And because of that, he is going to give you good marks. That's how it works, right? Taplow says, well, I'm not so sure, sir. That would be true of the ordinary masters, all right. They just wouldn't dare not to give a chap a remove after his taking extra work. But those sort of rules don't apply to the croc, Mr. Crocker Harris. I asked him yesterday outright if he had given me a remove, and do you know what he said, sir? So here, one thing that I would like to point you out is that the boy is completely frustrated. He has realized that Mr. Crocker Harris is merciless, so strict. he was called in the school to do some extra work even on the last day, and he wasn't sure whether he is going to get any extra marks for doing some extra work. It means that Mr. Crocker Harris was indeed very hard nut to crack. You could not flatter him so easily, and that made Taplow pretty worried. And he says that, I asked him whether I will get a good result or not. And you know what he said, sir? And Frank loves to know what he said. And what he said, we are going to learn in the next session. So with that, I would like to close it for today. And this is my quote to end this particular session. Educators, know thy impact. It's very important for you to understand that how you are presenting an example, how you are presenting yourself and the entire faculty in front of the students and the society. Like Mr. Frank should be very cautious while dealing with a student. Doesn't matter if the student was not his student, but after all, he was a teacher and there was a student. So he should be pretty careful, I believe. So let's see whether he is careful in the future or not in the next session. Thank you.